Welcome to Brightly You Radiant Being, the show that wildly recognizes, encourages, and invests in the radiance we all carry so you can shine your brightest. Each episode, sorry about that. Each episode, we laugh and share soul driven advice and topics to help you live more brightly in mind, body, and spirit. Through sharing our experiences, friendship, and passions, we hope to impact you to step more brightly into yourself inch by inch.
Hi, Amy.
I had my script on a different page and then I lost my place and then I started to laugh.
I mean, not to be that person, but I did specifically ask you if you had the script up in front of you.
And I did. I had the script. It was just not in front of me. Okay. I lied. And it wasn't in front of me. It was just up.
Now I feel silly with the question I did have for you today.
Just do it.
So have you finalized your New Year's resolutions yet? If you follow us on Instagram, you may have seen some Tracy Panic a couple of weeks back. This is posting just the week after the solstice in June 2022. And in just before the midpoint of June, somebody on social media pointed out that 2023 is just 6 months away. And 6 months may feel like a lot to a lot of people, and I hope it does. Time is a social construct, et cetera, et cetera. But for
one
me,
that we have to live by,
right? For me, it was the monthly equivalent of it's Thursday. What the hell are you doing with
exactly, exactly. But I mean, when you think about it, it is a really good time just to kind of step back and say, okay, where am I with where I wanted to be this year, or with what I wanted to get done, or with how I wanted to show up in the world, right?
Do I still want those things? What new things have come up in half a year of my life?
Yeah. Yeah. So this is also the time of the year where if you were going to finalize your New Year's resolutions, you actually might have some big decisions to make, right? And
if they're time bound resolutions, absolutely.
Absolutely. But even if they're not time bound, what if they're like roiling in your stomach bound? That kind
of more.
So, well, like say you've got something like, and if anyone who I work with is listening, don't worry, this is what I'm thinking of. But say you were like, should I quit my job and start this business? It's a big decision. And some people, I feel like it can stop people in their tracks. And it's not so much that it stops them in their tracks and they're like, that's fine. I'm happy here and this is where I'll stay kind of thing. It's that back and forth and never making a decision and not happy where they are, but not making any kind of headway. I don't know. Do you have any big decisions that you're like rolling around in your head or your gut or your heart?
No, but I think that's my problem. And I think that's why I haven't fully set all of my, level 10 life goal areas for the year.
Okay, tell me more. What's your problem? That you don't want to make a decision?
No, I don't have any decisions to be made. I've talked about this a little bit, that I've been kind of rolling in contentment, right? And not making a decision to change. You're not keeping your eyes on the horizon, having your head on a swivel, having a bigger goal. I'm too young not to have any bigger goals, right?
Yeah. My mother would say everyone's too young not to have any big goals.
Why we love your mom. One of them. But yeah, so for me, I mean, just kind of everything you just described, where do I hate my life? Is my life uncomfortable? No. Is it where I want it to be? Also no. Do I know where I want it to be? Not at all. So my problem is I need to decide what my decisions are so that I can do my pro and con list, right? Like, so that
Okay. Scratch what we were going to talk about.
Oh God, you have like pages here.
No, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about decision making. But I loved that you just said, I need to decide what it's like decide what I want to decide my life to be. So I almost feel like some of the things that might come up during this talk could be a way forward, possibly. But I also know you. And
don't be biased, maybe not. So as some people may know, we do mention this. We don't really have a script. We have an outline that we try and follow to keep us on topic. And Amy started previewing the outline with me, and I stopped her and said, I want to do this in real time because I am getting some feelings and I would like to react on air, but I also don't want to detract too much. But maybe other people are going through what I'm going through, right? Like,
yeah,
I know a lot of what I don't want in life, right?
Listen, that's a huge start. Because there's a lot of people who don't even know that.
Yeah, I know what I don't like. I know what I don't want. But it's still so many options and so many things are open-ended and in front of me and so many things for me that I just maybe haven't been introduced to. So how can I make a decision with the information that I have, right? I'm still info gathering.
So much 7 of Cups energy, Tracy.
I keep getting that. Card haunts me.
Spoiled for choice. I think you're right. I wonder if there are a lot of people in that same boat right now, and especially where we're at. And I don't just mean all the bad things. I mean some of the good things too, where we're at with social media and technology, and how anyone with basically a Wi-Fi connection can start their own business, right? But maybe not even, they don't even need a Wi-Fi connection. They just need like their phone or a laptop and go to someplace with a Wi-Fi connection. But
you don't need capital to start your own business anymore.
No,
you need Google, right? Like that's about it. You can do a lot of things.
Yeah.
And part of it for me, I have many mutable signs in my astrological chart, or like if you get to know me, that I'm kind of okay with going with the flow. And I think at some point, if you keep doing that, you're going to have those regrets at the end of life, right? Or you're going to come to a point where you wish you would have made a different decision. It's kind of like that choose your own adventure book, when you make a choice, but you keep a finger in that page just in case. Just in case it was a really bad choice, right?
Yes.
But eventually you only have so many fingers to do that, right? There's only so many things you can backpedal on.
You have so many fingers in your life. Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that does it spill over into other areas of your life? Like, is this your whole life, not being able to decide on what it is you want your life to, like, we're talking whole life. I mean, you can decide where you want to eat dinner, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got a list. No, so in terms, what is whole life? So for me, so I'm single and I don't have any kids, and that is still biologically possible. Could adopt, right? Could have foster kids, right? Like I still have, even if I pass a certain biological window, I still have choices for a few years, right?
If you wanted them,
if I wanted, if I want a relationship or not, if I want to focus on my career or not, if I want to travel or not, right? And some people do all of those things very gracefully and all together. But for me, I kind of decided a couple of years ago I wanted to take a step back in my career. I didn't want to like go for the C-suite. But now as I look forward, if I'm not filling my life with other things, and as I, get more comfortable with my new employer and my new interest and role, will that change again? I don't know. Today, Tracy, no. But next week, Tracy might want to, really dedicate herself to her career. So right now I'm just kind of going with the breeze and seeing what catches my eye. But
yeah. So one of the things that I was going to touch on is that for some people to make a decision, it's hard for them because they sort of want both, like the whole, you
Mm.
can't have your cake and eat it too. Like they want to have their cake and to eat it too, but
Yeah, I want to
also,
be a dedicated family
yeah,
person and also the best in my career ever. And you, I mean, I know they say Beyonce has 24 hours, but she also has a staff member, right? Like we don't have the same 24 hours as other
yeah,
people. Um,
yeah. So I, yeah, I'm super interested in this. And I know we've talked about it before, and I'm sorry if I wasn't as interested or didn't seem as interested in it before. I think I was, but now it's like I want to try and fix it, which that's not my role. But we can certainly talk about it.
I feel like so into to me for decision making, right
Mhm.
now it's easy for me to be like, oh yeah, I'm go with the flow and I'm mutable and I just don't have anything in front of me and I'm kind of, coasting through life or cruising through life. And we've talked about it, peaks and valleys and things like
Mhm.
that. But I think at a certain point, not searching for a decision that needs to be made is the same as having indecision
It
and not
is.
making a choice.
It is. And yes, it is. And something that my mom wrote is, she wrote it differently. She worded it differently, but basically it's indecision can become a habit.
Whew.
And what I have to say, when I read it, I was like, wait a minute. You just get so used to that sort of treading water feeling that you're just like, nope, I'm just going to swim in it. And I can't make a decision, because if I make a decision, then that means all the other possibilities have fallen away. It's
Oh,
like,
wait. Treading water just made me think too. Like, what if you're not looking for a decision, not making a decision because you're waiting for someone to decide on you? So, yes, I want a relationship, but I'm hung up on this guy that didn't pick me. Yes, I really want to advance in my career, but they haven't promoted me yet. Right. And
yes.
it's sometimes the decision has to be to acknowledge what is not an option anymore and to go forth towards what is.
That, I think you hit on something right there. I think it's very hard for us, first, to make a decision. Second, to realize when an option has actually been taken away,
It's expired.
right? It's expired, but we still look at it like, oh, it could happen.
Mhm.
It could happen. And so I think if we're self aware enough to be able to just sort of clear the board, right? Let's move the things off the board that are no longer options or viable options and see what's left, and then try and move forward from
Or,
there.
I mean, don't even look at what options are in front of you because I think those unknown unknowns, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you'd pick one of those. Maybe that's better. And
Hmm.
I like that idea of going back to, and you shared yours on Instagram recently, but you're like, like, what do you want more than anything? And then like start doing those 5 whys or more questions of why don't you have it yet? But if you know your values, you know your goals in life, where you ultimately want to end up in career, family, et cetera, you
Hmm.
can't limit yourself by what you see on the board now. Your limitation is your goal, right? And then you have to start
Yeah.
brainstorming decision options.
Yeah. And I'm really glad that you brought up the unknown unknowns, because I feel like with one of the methods that a lot of people use for decision makings, they do a pros and cons list, right? And I think that is a fine place to start. If that's where you're at, that's a fine place to start. But it is those unknown unknowns that you have no idea if it's going to be a pro or a con, because you're not even thinking about that aspect of it, right?
And then there are the known unknowns, right?
Right.
Where you're like, well, I like everything about this, but this. Are you waiting for it to change? Are you going to change? Like some things you kind of do know enough about to
Yes.
make a
Is it a
decision
deal breaker? Is it
around.
not a deal breaker? Yeah. I think that the other thing too is we tend to look outside of ourselves so much for answers. And again, I think that in a certain way, it can be helpful if you talk to the right people, right? If it's maybe somebody outside of who might be affected by the decision, or what should I do with my life, or something like that, that you can talk to some trusted people who could help you. But you always have to remember that anyone you talk to is going to have their own biases, their own limiting beliefs, their own underlying currents, right?
And you are the expert in you.
Yeah.
So when you don't know or you're not sure, I like to do that thing where you like give someone a couple options and you're like, oh, I really need to pick out a quote to put on, this invitation, and you give them 3 options. And then as soon as they start to say theirs, you know exactly what one you wanted in the first place.
Exactly. It's so true. No matter what, you might think you don't know which decision to go with, but then if somebody said, I think you should do this, you're going to have like this full body reaction to be like, no, I know I need to go with this. But even
That's
sometimes
the thing with asking the universe or God or your friends, like, just choose for me. You have to live with the decision still, right? Like sometimes it's not so much the choice we want someone to take control over, it's all the follow-up steps or the after the decision is made, because that's the tough part.
Okay, because frankly, there are some decisions that I've made that were, while difficult, I knew what decision had to be made. It was starting it, right? It was the action that has to come after the decision. And if you don't act after you've made the decision, the longer you wait to act, the more time that self-doubt can just creep up and be like, but was that the right decision? I'm not sure you should do that.
It's kind of like, should I go back to school? And if anything in your decision not to is based around like, oh, it's just going to be so hard, or oh, it's so much time, you didn't actually make a decision. You just postponed effort and work, right?
Postponed effort and work. I feel like that's where we're all stuck. We're just like, I'm just postponing effort and work right now. Could somebody pick up on that, please? Like, yeah. I feel like activator is pretty high in my strengths. And so I feel like that is me. Like, I have this really great idea and I want this done. Can you do that?
We delegate.
Yeah, exactly. I think the other thing too, sometimes we get stuck on, I know for me with many decisions, it's what will people super close to me, what are they going to think?
Oh, sure.
Am I going to hurt people by this decision?
Am I going to be supported?
Am I going to be supported? Yeah. And of course, we always like, will I fail? I mean, that's always a question. But I think more so than will I fail is, will I be supported? Will other people agree? Will I hurt other people? Will they think I'm an idiot? And I know we're not supposed to care what other people think about us.
But some people, their decisions do have repercussions or affect the people around them. And so their opinion could be valid, right?
Absolutely.
Or we may need or want or be in a position to have to ask for support after we make the choice. And it's easier if they're on board.
Yes. And honestly, if your decision does directly affect people in your circle around you, you should be including them. You should be like pulling them into your thoughts and, here's what I'm thinking and what am I missing, or how do you see it going?
Advocating for yourself and your wants and needs too. But
yes.
I have kind of a different approach, and I don't know if it's because I'm single and I don't have too many people in my immediate circle to have to consider. But for me, it's more the opposite. Maybe that is why I'm more decisive when I do have decisions to make, is standing still, remaining stagnant is a bigger risk to me. I could still fail. People could still talk about me. People could still hurt me. I could still hurt them, right? Not moving is also a choice. It's also a risk and something to consider too. It's not necessarily just, oh, this thing is too big and bold and I might crash and burn, but also like, okay, if I don't move, what am I losing out on? What could happen? What are the risks?
I don't think that people think of standing still as a risk. And I'm glad you brought that up. I know we've all heard not making a decision is a decision, but I don't know if too many people have heard not making a decision is a risk. like that is standing still is a
Yeah.
risk.
Well, and so I'll pose a career is a really good example for decision making, right? So I used to have someone that took a couple steps down into an office supporting role that would report to me. And her prior role was really high pace, really hard, really tough, no room for vacations. You know, like always have to be on, always have to be the expert, always short staffed and wanting to be there for your colleagues, right? So then she came to a role that was complete opposite. You know, she'd tell me, "Oh, hey, can I take today off? I'm not feeling well," or "Oh, I just don't think I can come in," or you know, this or that. And I was like, "Stop asking permission. Start telling me you're using your PTO, and all I got to know is what needs to get done." Right? Like, you know, that's it. Just yeah, I'm not going to come in and all my work is ready, or here's what needs to get done. But I would have regular conversations with her about, if you want to ride this job into retirement, let's set sail, but I want you to grow and develop still so that you're engaged in it while you're here, right? But if there are other things you want to do in this organization that maybe you don't have that skill set for, let's start building that now so that when that position opens, you have the contacts, you have the experience, you have the knowledge, and you're a good candidate for it. Let's not just sit and coast and cruise for 4 years and then all of a sudden find out like, oh crap, I'm not ready for this once in a lifetime opportunity I'll never get again. Right. And
Yeah,
so,
I feel like we kind of touched on that in Fortune. I like
oh
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But so
Yeah.
like sometimes when you're standing still, it's a good time for preparation, right?
But that it is, as long as you understand that that you are preparing
Exactly.
for this future decision.
Because sometimes you don't realize you're frozen in time until there's something you want in front of you and you realize I'm not ready for it. I guess that was a
Yeah.
really long story to get to that point.
No, it was wonderful. And actually, while you were telling it, I was thinking we all need this little Tracy on our shoulder. I
I'm
think
available
including
for
you.
counseling.
I think you need your own little Tracy on your
Oh,
shoulder.
I have enough Tracy voices in this head. I advocate for Amy on my shoulder. That's why I text
Okay, I'll take that. I'll accept that. I'll accept that. I think too, like you said, honestly, I'm just still stuck on that. Like standing still is a risk because there were so many decisions I didn't make because I was afraid, because I thought the decision would be a risk. Whereas it turned out the opposite.
So when you are at those moments and you're afraid, I just like, what's a baby decision you can make that's related, right?
See,
So is that
yes, I would
decision optional?
advocate for that. Especially when with my mom's quote of indecision is a habit. I think if you get to if you are stuck, start making those easy little decisions. Go into a restaurant, set a timer. Within 30 seconds, you're going to, or, a minute, you're going to figure out what you're going to have to eat. You close the menu and you don't look at it again. And that's your decision. Decide, I'm reading this book. That's my decision. Just little tiny baby steps. I think too, we're such advocates for knowing yourself, and I guess I feel like sometimes, even though there's sometimes I am at a standstill, there's also sometimes I'm too impulsive.
Mm.
And so then, like I told my middle son, anytime you think you have a good idea, you call me first and then we'll talk about it. Because I think you need that
We all need our
extra
person like
voice.
that, right?
Yes, exactly. So for me, I do need to take maybe a little bit of time. I think for someone, if you're super deliberative, maybe you need to build up some muscles of a little bit of impulsivity, right? But you have to know how you are. And
I mean, so I wouldn't classify my current situation as indecisive, though I might now, to put a little fire under me, because I loved your mom's quote. But what I'm doing in the meantime, like I'm aware, like I've had awareness that I haven't had a big change in my life or a big decision in a while. I used to throw those to myself all the time though, right? So I'm kind of like a in between stage, but in the meantime, I'm journaling, right? Both free writing, and I have these journals with like these prompts and things like that. I'm constantly looking at my values, at where I want to be in 5 to 10 years, and like is
So it's
anything
like
I'm
you're in
doing
that
getting
preparation mode.
yeah. So for
Yeah.
me, if I think in the areas where I have been able to be really decisive or areas where I haven't had any major mess ups in my life is because those are areas where I am so self-aware and centered that I know what's going to fit and not, right? That when an opportunity for a brand new career comes up, I know I'm ready for it and I know I want it and I can hit the ground running. There
Nice.
are other
Yeah.
areas of my life where I don't feel that ready for that and I'm going to learn it in the moment and might mess up a little bit.
I
But it's like,
definitely feel like you're still front loading yourself to be able to be prepared for when
mhm,
something does come up.
yeah,
So I'm
but
wondering why you still feel like it almost is as if the way you talk about it, it's like you're keeping yourself from something.
or the universes, I don't know. So like in order for me, a big thing for me is like, hey, I'm not in a relationship. I kind of want to explore possibly doing that. And as you know, I do go on dates or I do put myself out there on the online dating apps and
Mhm.
things like that. But I'm also willing to stay single until the right person comes across. And I don't have like a laundry list of like has to make this much and be this tall and have this color eye, right? Like those aren't, I'm looking for some values and matching character traits and things
Yeah.
like that. It's broader
Yeah.
than that. But
Yeah.
so for me, I think part of it is so much of that depends on me coming across someone or them coming across me. And then if we do, they also have to respond to me, right? And it's similar to looking for a job, but it's a little different because I will take any job out there if I need the cash, if I
Yeah.
really need it. The
Yeah. Yeah.
relationship thing, I can be single, I'm good.
You won't swipe. Which way do you swipe if you're interested?
Right. If we're
You
interested,
won't
swipe right.
swipe right for just any old person,
And so
right?
I think it was kind of the fortune and the changes episode where we talked about like, I'm waiting to co-create with the universe.
Yes, yes,
And,
fortune episode. Yes.
and so maybe,
Mhm.
if it's not coming my way yet, maybe that's the universe being like, hey, get more specific in what you want, right? Like script this a little bit more. Like it's too open-ended right now, right? Or oh, get yourself to be a better match for what you do want, right?
Yeah.
But you said earlier, so when I was talking about like make baby decisions, I meant like if you have a big decision that seemed like going back to college seems too big, take a certificate class, right? Take an online
Oh,
webinar.
yeah. I
So
like
when
that.
yeah, so when you're talking about like choose what you want to eat, choose your book. For me, for some things, I feel like as a single homeowner who is technically in an assistant type administrative role in her work, I have decision fatigue.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because people can get decision fatigue and then not be able to make decisions that could actually
Yeah.
impact them in a really good way. And sometimes people forget, and I learned this. Where did I learn it? In like this cool University of Minnesota brain seminar that every time you have to make a decision, you use glucose. So if you haven't eaten breakfast, if you're not like hydrated and haven't eaten anything that day, you're not going to be able to make decisions. So that is part. So you actually, and I know you eat healthy and you stay hydrated, but for you, it is decision fatigue because you do have to make all these decisions by yourself every day, all day long. So I'm not sure
But
that
see, so going back to front loading though, like there's some stuff we can do where we can stop putting so many decisions in front of us, right?
that's
So
true.
like some people build a capsule wardrobe or wear the same thing to work
Yeah.
every day. Some people having an assigned parking place at work has been shown to improve heart surgeons like success rates in surgery. Like the more decisions,
My goodness.
the more teeny tiny decisions they took away from them, the better they were able to make decisions in critical moments.
Hey, listen, I went to Catholic school for 5 years and I never had to make a decision as to what I was going to wear in the morning. And that was good. The other thing is, here's what I would say too. If you are faced with many, many decisions, when are you better equipped to make decisions? So for me, at night, it always works out way better if I pick out what I'm going to wear the next morning. Because in the morning, well, now, if I'm working from home, let me tell you, it's pajamas till about 10 o'clock. But if, getting back into the office and things like that, I am not as good of a decision maker when I first wake up as opposed to when I've been awake all day and I'm just like, I'll just wear this tomorrow. And I put everything in the bathroom. I hang up my clothes. I pick everything out. I pack my lunch the night before. It just works out better. So I think that whenever you have the energy for the decisions, and also, like you said, decide when to put the decisions in front of you, and possibly, is it something that could be automated? Is it?
Or where can you build processes into your life? And especially if you have
Yes.
ADHD or autism or some sort of neurodivergence, you
Mhm.
don't need a routine as much as you need a process in place. It's kind
Yeah.
of that old adage of like, don't put it down, put it away, because future you is already overloaded, right?
Yeah.
So I love it. Like at the end of the night, I'm already tired. Who cares if I make one more decision about what I'm going to wear tomorrow? That I can go negative because I'm going to go to sleep and I'll wake up and I'll be good. And so you want to set your routine and your processes in place to where when you first get up, you're doing things that are giving you energy, that are feeding you, that are nourishing you. So then when the decisions that you have to make at work or home come up, you're ready, right?
Yeah.
So like you said, I already know I'm going to wear. When I go to work, I take the same route every day. I try and do a Sunday reset where I plan my entire week and in pencil, I pencil it in. But so I wake up and I already know on Wednesday roughly what I have to do that day, right?
Yeah.
I already
Yeah.
know
I
what my
like this.
workout routine will be. I'm not finding a new playlist on YouTube. I'm not finding a new
Mm.
meditation to listen to, right? Like those decisions were pre-planned. I create playlists for a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I think that the more routines you can set in place, the easier it's sort of it's just a load off your shoulders. It's one less thing that you have to decide about. I think that uh the I lost my thought completely. Um oh,
So when it comes to routines, try and have time where you monotask. The multitasking is going to split your ability to make decisions.
yes. Thank you. I used to think that multitasking was the way to go and that I was an expert at it. And then I realized, no, you're not. You're just, it takes you so much longer to get back into the thing that you were doing. When I have something important that I need to get done, I've found that the best thing for me, because I have a tendency to be like, oh, squirrel. Anyways, if I set a timer, and I know that the book was written, the Pomodoro technique, but my mother did this for us. She'd set the timer for 15 minutes and say, let's see what we can get done. But so I do that for writing. I do that for work tasks that I have to be like head down, concentrating. I set the timer and you don't get to interrupt me. I don't get to interrupt myself. And then I work for that amount of time. And that helps too, because then I just feel like that is a way to fill yourself up instead of draining yourself so that you get something done. That's that's a good.
I think you've noticed this before, but people have definitely commented when they notice I don't have notifications turned on my phone.
Yeah.
I don't get the little red dots and I don't get dings. Only certain people in my messages have the option for me to like hear if they're texting me or calling me, but only if my sound is on. I don't have it vibrate. I don't have it. I choose when I pick up my distraction rectangle. Like I do not
So
live by it. I do it when I pick it up.
I don't have noises for notifications, but I do for texts because, well, even though my children are grown, I still have children and they still need me sometimes.
So you get to set your own boundaries, but for me, by not having the little red bubbles telling me that I have text messages, if I pick up my phone specifically to Google something, specifically to check something, specifically to do something, I'm not distracted by 9 other things, right?
Yeah.
And so all those little things add up to that energy thing and detract from you being able to pick a restaurant out or for dinner or pick out a book to read.
Well, and just the fact that you just brought up energy, we do need energy in order to be able to make a decision. And I wasn't joking when I was like, eat good food, stay hydrated, right? And of course, our favorite, Like if you do need to make a decision and you've done your pros and cons list and that hasn't worked out, I actually, have you, do you know what a decision tree is? Of course, you know what a decision tree is, Tracy, right? And I kind of like that idea because it looks more like a mind map, pros and cons. But what I don't like about it is that the decision trees that you see have been very well curated by experts who understand each point on the map. And we don't always understand it because we don't know the points on the map. So, you've done your pros and cons list, you've thought about it, maybe you've asked other people and you still don't know what you want to do. Meditation. I love meditation. I was talking to longtime listener and now a friend, J.R. Pierce Nelson. She's an author. Should check her out. She was sharing with me that she and her husband try on decisions. And I was like, tell me more. So say they were deciding whether they wanted to move to, 2 states away or however far away it was. They waited until the kids were out of school. And JR, if I'm telling this wrong, I'm sorry. It's just that we'll just go with it. Okay. It's something like this. And instead of buying a place, they just like rented a place for a month or two to see if they liked it. They tried it on. So that was just fascinating to me. And then what I thought about with that too is say you have definite 2 or 3 things that you need to choose from. Vision cast, like literally write it out. This is my future if I choose this. This is what it could be like. I think I just thought of that today when I was doing these. I was like, oh yeah, you can vision cast it. So I don't know. I think it might be a cool thing. The other thing, of course, you know me. If I have to decide on something, I pull out my tarot cards. And then if I don't like what my tarot cards say,
you look for signs and you drive around the neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly. No, then you already know what decision you want to make. But also, if you don't like what your tarot cards say, maybe you've made the wrong decision. You need to look at those tarot cards again.
Well, but so let's say you make a choice and it's the wrong one. So to speak. You can't miss what's meant for you. You might take a detour, but you're going to learn and you're going to approach it with experience, or I'm going to gain experience. And so be solution focused and give it time, right? Sometimes just it's new. When things are new, we just don't like them. And then we look for a reason why it didn't work out so that we can undo it.
Yeah. But you also can take a step back and actually do sort of what they do for implementing changes, the plan, do, study, act, right? You could do sort of a template about, okay, I made this decision. 3 months later, be like, how's it going? Do I need to tweak anything? I think that we have a tendency to be like, everything is set in stone. And it's not. And it's okay. And I also agree with you. I actually don't think you can make a wrong decision, because I think any decision that you ultimately make will lead you to something that you were supposed to be led to.
I love that. Well, if you also love this, please share it with a friend. And if you have time, give us some love on your preferred platform with a rate, review, and subscribe. You can also reach out to us via Instagram and YouTube under The Brightly Podcast, or via email at brightlypodcast@gmail.com.
And with that, we hope you have a bright and beautiful day.
Be decisive.